You ever try to hold on to something so tight, just completely convinced that this time it's going to stay? You know, a person, a perfect moment, a feeling, only to feel it slip right through your fingers? Yeah, we've all been there. We suffer when things end, and we're just convinced the world has let us down. But what if the problem isn't the loss? What if the real problem is the holding on? Okay, let's get into this.
And this idea, this is at the absolute heart of what we're talking about today. It just completely flips the script on what pain is. It suggests that suffering isn't some attack from the outside world, but it's a story we're telling ourselves, a story that we actually own something in the first place.
Okay, so if our pain really does come from an illusion, then our first step to getting free is to see it clearly for what it is. And this illusion, well, it's kind of twofold. It's like a case of mistaken identity and a deep fundamental misunderstanding of reality itself.
So, the first part of the diagnosis is this deep, usually unconscious belief that we can actually possess things. But think about it. The love of your life doesn't belong to you. Your kids aren't really yours. Heck, not even your own body is truly yours to keep forever. We suffer over things that were never ours to begin with, all because we're living under this fiction of possession.
You know, Buddhist philosophy actually has a name for this, tanha. It's this invisible hunger, this constant thirst inside us that just makes us want to cling. It's that little voice that whispers, this is mine, or this has to last forever. Tanha is what turns the beautiful, flowing river of life into a bunch of separate things to grab and hold on to, which, of course, is completely impossible.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how this separates love from attachment. We get them mixed up all the time, right? But true love, well, it's all about nourishing something and then releasing it. It lets things bloom on their own. But attachment, that's born from fear. You know that phrase, if I can't have you, no one can? That's not love. That's imprisonment. That's fear disguised as devotion.
And maybe, just maybe, the thing we cling to most fiercely is our own identity. You know, the whole story of me. We build this identity on such fragile ground, our jobs, our relationships, our past failures and successes. So when the world doesn't play along with that story, we suffer. We think we're being rejected, but really, it's just our illusion of a fixed, permanent self that's being challenged.
And this leads to this incredible concept called shunyata. Now, emptiness sounds depressing, right? But it's not a void of despair. It's a liberating kind of emptiness. It's the understanding that you aren't some solid, separate thing. You're more like a wave. You're beautiful, you have a form, but you are made entirely of the ocean. And when that wave breaks, it doesn't die. It just returns to what it always was. So if there's no fixed you to protect, what is there to hurt?
So, if the first part of our suffering is clinging to all these illusions, the second part is the constant, exhausting war we wage against the very nature of life. Pretty much every ounce of our anxiety comes from this battle, this gap between what we want and what just is.
And this right here illustrates that conflict perfectly. Look, on one side, you've got our demands. We want permanence, control, fairness, stability. And on the other side, you have life's actual nature, constant change, an unpredictable flow, a search for balance, and constant movement. We're essentially trying to yell at the wind to stop blowing and then wondering why we feel so defeated and tired all the time.
And get this, modern science gives us a fascinating peek into why this war is so hardwired in us. Our brains are literally built for the chase. See, this chemical, dopamine, it spikes before we get the thing we want, not after. It's the anticipation, the wanting. That's what gives us the rush, not the actual having. And this creates a biological loop of endless craving, where satisfaction is always temporary and we're just always looking for that next hit.
So, here's the crucial point. The pain doesn't come from the fire of life itself, but from our complete shock that the fire burns. We embrace things, love, moments, our youth, and we just expect them not to change, not to fade away. We suffer not from reality, but from our constant losing argument with it. Okay, so that's the diagnosis. And yeah, it might sound a little grim, but really, understanding the problem is the first step toward the cure. And the prescription isn't about becoming cold or emotionless, not at all. It's about finding true freedom, the kind of freedom that only comes from letting go. Let's be crystal clear about what detachment really means here. It is not indifference. It is not apathy or coldness. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It is the ability to love fully and deeply and passionately, but without all the fear and anxiety that comes from trying to possess something.
It's about holding life and the people in it with open hands instead of clenched fists.
So, how do we actually practice this? Well, it starts by just truly seeing the flow, accepting that everything, including you, is in constant motion. Next, we surrender that illusion of control. We release our demands on how things should be. And finally, we learn to love without owning, to nourish and appreciate something without trying to trap it in a cage.
And when you start to live this way, something really profound starts to shift. The world doesn't change, but your experience of it does. Life stops feeling like this uphill battle you have to win and starts feeling, well, more like a dance you actually get to join.
When you stop expecting things to stick around forever, you start appreciating them for simply showing up at all. That feeling of dread about things ending, it gets replaced by this deep sense of gratitude for the fact that they even happened. Every single moment, every person, every experience, it becomes a gift, not a possession you're terrified to lose.
And here it is. Here's the great paradox. The very thing we're so afraid of, impermanence, is the exact thing that gives life its beauty and its meaning. Sunsets are beautiful because they fade. Precious moments are cherished because they pass. Endings don't erase the meaning, they create it.
Ultimately, letting go completely transforms your relationship with existence. You shift from a mode of conflict to a mode of participation. You're no longer trying to force the world to fit your rules. Instead, you're learning the rhythm of the world and just moving with it. You stop arguing with reality and you start dancing with it.
So we're going to leave you with this question. Just really think about it. What choices would you make? How would you love? How would you live if you truly understood that there was nothing to hold on to, and therefore absolutely nothing you could ever truly lose? What would change for you?